Hello, Masked Emotion family. Today we close one chapter, 12 philosophers, 12 masks. From Chrysippus to Diogenes, we have walked through every corner of Stoic thought there is to walk through. And today we begin a new one, Eastern philosophy. A different world, a different kind of wisdom, but the same question we have been asking since the very first video on this channel. How do we become who we were meant to be? Let's begin. A king handed him 80 of his concubines and told him to turn them into soldiers. Sun Tzu divided them into 2 companies, appointed the king's 2 favorite concubines as commanding officers, gave the order to march left. They laughed. He repeated the order. They laughed again. Sun Tzu said, "If the instructions are not clear, that is the commander's fault." He repeated the drill, explained it a second time with total clarity. He gave the order again. They laughed a third time. Sun Tzu said, "If the instructions are clear and they are still not followed, that is the fault of the officers." And he ordered the 2 commanding officers, the king's favorite concubines, executed on the spot. The king sent a message immediately. "Spare them, I beg you. I already know your skill." Sun Tzu refused. He said, "A general once appointed to command need not obey every order of his sovereign." He executed them anyway. Appointed 2 new commanding officers, gave the order again. This time, every woman in that field moved left, moved right, knelt, and stood with the precision of a single body. Not one word out of place. This is the story of the man who wrote the most influential strategy text in human history. A man who understood something almost no one in 2,500 years has fully grasped. The Art of War is not a book about fighting. It is a book about how to avoid it. Sun Tzu lived sometime around 544 to 496 BC, during one of the most violent and chaotic periods in Chinese history, the late spring and autumn period, when the great state of Zhou had fractured into constantly warring kingdoms. Some historians question whether Sun Tzu was a single man at all, or whether his name was attached to a body of strategic wisdom developed by multiple generals over generations. But the traditional account, the one passed down for millennia, tells us he was a military strategist born in the state of Qi, who eventually came into the service of King Helu of Wu. This is where the concubine story comes from. The king wanted proof. Sun Tzu had written his treatise, but words on a page mean nothing to a ruler deciding whether to trust a man with his armies. So he tested him, gave him the most unlikely soldiers imaginable, his own palace women, half expecting Sun Tzu to fail, or to refuse, or to soften the discipline out of fear of offending the king. Sun Tzu did none of those things. He proved that discipline is not negotiable, that a commander who bends his principles the moment they become inconvenient was never actually in command. The king, after watching his own concubines executed in front of him, appointed Sun Tzu as a general anyway, because he understood something most rulers never grasp. A man who will not compromise his discipline for your comfort is exactly the man you want leading your armies. Under Sun Tzu's command, the state of Wu rose to become one of the most powerful military forces of the era, famously defeating the much larger army of Chu in a campaign that became legendary for its use of deception, speed, and psychological warfare rather than brute force. After his military service, Sun Tzu reportedly withdrew from public life. Like so many of the figures we cover on this channel, the ending of his life is wrapped in uncertainty. Some accounts suggest he lived out his remaining years in quiet retirement. Others suggest a darker political fall. What survived, what we know for certain, is the text, The Art of War, 13 chapters, roughly 6,000 Chinese characters, a document so precise, so distilled, so free of unnecessary words, that military academies still teach it today. Not just in China, West Point, the Pentagon, business schools across the world. Because Sun Tzu was not really writing about armies. He was writing about conflict itself. And almost every human life involves more conflict than most people are equipped to handle wisely. So what did Sun Tzu actually teach? The line everyone knows, even if they've never read the book. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Read that again. Not win every battle, not defeat your enemy through superior force. Subdue the enemy without fighting. This is the idea most people miss entirely when they hear the title, The Art of War. They assume it's a manual for aggression. It is the opposite. Sun Tzu believed that war itself was the failure point, the last resort, the most expensive, most destructive, most uncertain path to any goal. A truly skilled strategist wins before the battle even begins, through positioning, through patience, through making the conflict so clearly unwinnable for the opponent that they choose not to engage at all. He wrote that the greatest victory is the one that requires no fighting whatsoever. This single idea reorganizes everything about how you should think about conflict in your own life. Sun Tzu also taught the principle of knowing. Know yourself and know your enemy, he wrote, and you will never be in peril in 100 battles. Most people only know half of that equation. They know what they want. They know their own goals, their own feelings, their own version of events. But they rarely take the time to genuinely understand the person or situation standing opposite them. What does the other side actually want? What are they afraid of? What would make them stand down without a fight at all? Sun Tzu also taught something that sounds almost like a contradiction to Western ideas of strength. All warfare is based on deception. Not deception as dishonesty in everyday life, but the strategic principle that you should never reveal your full position, your full capability, or your full intention before it serves your purpose to do so. Appear weak when you are strong. Appear strong when you are weak. This is not about manipulation. It is about understanding that revealing everything about yourself at all times is not honesty. It is vulnerability without purpose. And finally, perhaps the deepest principle in the entire text, Sun Tzu taught that the terrain matters more than the troops. Position yourself correctly, and victory becomes almost automatic. Position yourself poorly, and no amount of force will save you. He was not talking only about physical ground. He was talking about circumstance, timing, context, the conditions you choose to engage within. Here is what Sun Tzu is telling you, right now, in your actual life. You are at war more often than you realize, not with weapons, with people who want something from you that you don't want to give, with situations that demand a response, with your own impulses, your own anger, your own desire to prove a point in moments that don't actually require proving anything. And most people fight every battle that's placed in front of them. They argue every disagreement. They respond to every provocation. They engage in every conflict as if walking away were a form of losing. Sun Tzu says, the supreme skill is subduing the conflict without ever entering it. This means recognizing which battles are actually worth fighting and which ones are designed to drain your energy, your reputation, your peace of mind for someone else's benefit. It means asking, before you engage with anything difficult, What do I actually want here? What does the other side actually want? Is there a way to get what matters without the fight at all? It means understanding your own terrain, knowing your strengths well enough to position yourself where they matter, knowing your weaknesses well enough to avoid fighting on ground where you are guaranteed to lose. It means not revealing every card you hold the moment you feel emotional. Strategic silence is not dishonesty, it is discipline. And it means understanding that walking away from a fight you don't need is not weakness. It is the single clearest sign of someone who actually understands what strength is for. Sun Tzu commanded armies. He executed his own commanding officers to prove that discipline cannot bend. But the deepest lesson of his entire life's work is not about force, it's about precision. Know what matters, know what doesn't, and never spend your strength on a war you didn't need to fight. Two companies of palace women, standing in perfect formation, moving as a single body because a man refused to compromise on what discipline actually requires. That is the image most people remember when they think of Sun Tzu. But it is not the lesson he most wanted to leave behind. The real lesson is quieter. It is the general who wins the war before a single arrow is loosed. It is the strategist who understands that the loudest, most aggressive path is almost never the most effective one. It is the wisdom to know which battles deserve your strength, and the discipline to walk away from every single one that doesn't. Sun Tzu wrote 13 chapters on how to win wars, but underneath every page is a far simpler truth. The strongest among us are not the ones who fight the most. They are the ones who know exactly when not to. That is not a message to me. That is a promise to yourself. And tell this family which philosopher should wear the next mask. Drop the name below. If you're new here, this is what we do. Every week, one philosopher, one story, one lesson sharp enough to cut through everything the world throws at you. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't miss what's coming. Until next time, wear the mask.